and start over. There we go. So I want to rewrite the composition of trig functions as an algebraic expression. So I have secant of sine inverse of x. All right, so very first thing I want to do, I want to start on the inside. I'm trying to find secant of something, and I'm going to call that something, right? So I'm going to take out sine inverse of x, and I'm going to call it y. Again, you could call it anything. I'm going to call it y. I don't know how to really work with the inverse trig functions that well, so I'm going to rewrite it in a way that I do know how to work with it. So I need to get rid of the inverse, so I want to rewrite this using what an inverse trig function is as a regular trig function, so I can make my triangle. So if sine inverse of x is y, then that means that sine of y must be equal to x. Now I have something that I can label my triangle with. So I'm going to create a right triangle and label one of the other angles y, or whatever you chose to call sine inverse, and label it as y. And I'm going to use how sine relates to the triangle to label my triangle. Sine, if you look at your formula sheet, your identity sheet, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So I have x. I need to make it a fraction. So x over 1. I didn't change it, but I did make it a fraction. So that means the opposite side from y is going to be x, and the hypotenuse will be 1. So now I have 2 out of the 3 sides, so I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is always my hypotenuse, so I know c will be 1. I'm going to let x be a and say I'm finding b. Doesn't matter if you did that the other way, that's fine as long as c is 1. So I have a is x, so I have x squared plus b squared equals c is 1, so 1 squared. So x squared plus b squared is 1. I need to get b all by itself, so I'll subtract x squared from both sides. So I get b squared equals 1 minus x squared. Take the square root of both sides, and I get b equals the square root of 1 minus x squared. So my third side is the square root of 1 minus x squared. Now that I have the third side of my triangle, I'm going to come back and look at what I was originally trying to find. I was trying to find what secant of this value is. So I'm trying to find sine inverse. We called it y. So I'm actually trying to find secant of y. I've created a triangle. That'll help me find it. If I look at my identity sheet, the way that secant corresponds to a triangle, secant of y is what? Hypotenuse over adjacent. So I know that secant of y will be, here's y, the hypotenuse is 1, so 1 over the adjacent side length to y is the square root of 1 minus x squared. And there we go. Rewrote the trigonometric composition as an algebraic expression. So secant of sine inverse of x is 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared.